So welcome to today's webinar. Thank you all for joining. There's really not much housekeeping to talk about during the webinar, but if you do have any questions or comments, please enter them into the questions window in the GoToWebinar interface. And at the end of my presentation, I will review them and answer them. If the sound is not good, please also mention it in there. I'll try to speak louder if it's not loud enough. Anyways, thank you all for coming, and let's get started. So today we'll be talking about the email attachments and how to overcome limits of email attachments. So my name is John Tkachevsky. I am the president and co-founder of FileCatalyst. I've been doing these webinars for several years now, 4 or 5 years, and we also have a blog. If you go to filecatalyst.com/blog, you can get a whole bunch of information about file transfer security and other things. And of course, if you want to review our past webinars, we try to do webinars monthly. Sometimes we skip a month if things are too hectic, but normally we do them once a month. So there's lots of cool topics. And if you go to the resources webinars, you'll find our past webinars organized in such a way that you should be able to find the topics you need to listen to. So I'm not going to go through the agenda because you're going to see it as I'm going through. I'm just kind of putting it here out. So for those who might be watching this later offline, let's get right into it. So problems with large email attachments. Well, first of all, most email applications, whether it's Gmail, Yahoo Mail, or whatever you use, have file size limits when you attach files. That's usually between 25, maybe 50 megs at most. The reason it's so small is that the SMTP or the SMTP protocol wasn't designed to transfer files. You can attach small files like a Word document or a couple of images, but you cannot really use it to send anything larger than 25 megs. Another problem with sending email attachments is that you cannot send folder structures. So if you have a complex folder structure, well, you got to first zip it into a zip file before you send it. You never know really if the files were delivered with email. Yeah, there's the read receipt that you can enable on your email, but the recipient could very easily disable it and not give you a read receipt. To password protect your downloads, well, the only way really to do it is to put a password protected zip and then provide that password somehow, some other way to the recipient. But there's nothing really built into the email for that. It's really built outside of the application. There's also the problem that recipients can easily just forward this email to 20, 30, 50 other people, and you don't have control over that. It's once you sent it, you sent it. And then also for larger companies, those that deal with very many users and have a lot of inboxes to back up and archive, well, then these attachments balloon your archive size, and then it takes you forever to back up and do backups of your email inboxes. So the bigger the file size limit you allow, the bigger your inbox, and that creates another headache on the IT infrastructure to save it. And as I mentioned before, SMTP wasn't really based for file transfer. It is a TCP-based protocol, so you're not getting really any acceleration there as you transfer files. So one way to some people get around all of these problems is that, okay, well, we'll install some kind of a web server in like Apache or IIS, and we'll just drop files into our web server and then send those links out via email to our customers. Well, that works great, but here are some problems. First of all, it's a two-step process. First, the sender must upload some files to the web server, then figure out the link, and then send that link to the recipient. Again, you have very minimal tracking here. Password protection could be set up at Apache level, or you could still use just the zip protected files. There's no any directory structures. If you want to send a complex directory, well, that has to be zipped up. Once again, recipients can easily forward these emails with the links to others, and you cannot do anything about it. You never know really if files were delivered. You can kind of see from the logs which file was requested, and from Apache to Tomcat Apache logs, or you can see if the email was read, but you never really know if everything was downloaded. And deleting everything that is not used and is kind of finished is not easily done with this system. And again, now you're using HTTP to download these larger files, but there's no acceleration, and this creates a lot of other problems. So this system may be good for more advanced users, but basic users probably with this solution are gonna get confused, and it's not gonna work really well for them. So how we do it with FileCatalyst? Well, we have two solutions that do provide file link ability, sending link ability. One is in FileCatalyst Direct, and it's called Link, and the other one is Workflow with the distribution jobs. Both systems have share similar features, but I wanted to show them both and also outline the differences. So when you're considering FileCatalyst for your next using FileCatalyst for your next project, you'll have an idea whether you need the features in Workflow versus just the link features. So let's dive right into it. So this is the FileCatalyst Direct server interface. And this is where you define your users. You're probably all familiar with this interface if you already used FileCatalyst Direct Server in any capacity. Since version 3, I believe it's 3.7, we added this new tab called Link. And Link allows you to, bundle a whole bunch of files together, give it a link ID over here, and then email this link ID to a user so the user can pick up these files. So the way you get to this interface is that this is your link interface. You can see all the transactions that have been sent. But if you want to get to the interface, you just click on HTTP settings here, and you go to the web root of FileCatalyst. So each FileCatalyst server comes with a web root or a web server already built in that has many applications already deployed on it that are ready for you to use. So when you click on the web root, you can go to Manage or Transfer Files. In this case, I'm going to go to Transfer Files. And here you have different applications that are built into the web to the FileCatalyst server to transfer files over the web. One of them is right here. It's called Link. So if I click on Email Link, this launches the link interface. As you can see, it launches the requires FileCatalyst Transfer Agent, which you can just see here. It blinked very quickly, and now the user is ready to send files. The reason I wasn't prompted for install is that right before I started the demo, I already logged in. So normally you would get prompted for username and password, but because I'm already logged in, this little key here remembers my credentials, so I just get in right away to the right place. So at this moment, all I have to do is enter my recipient, enter my subject, and here are some files. I can specify whether I want to have expiry of this package. So do I want to have single use? That means as soon as the recipient has downloaded the files, the link is inactive. I can have default date, so this is the dates recommended by the system, or I can put a custom date that has to be before the default date. And this is once again the admin decides what expiry dates to set. Single use is limited to only one recipient, but default date will work for multiple recipients. So here I entered my recipient, I put my subject message, when the link expires, and now I can go here and browse and select files to upload. So let's say I'll go to a directory here, select a couple of my files, and you can see files right away start uploading, and I hit send. So this is really what's happening on the link side. So now you're uploading the files to the server. The server will store them in a specific folder called FC Outbox, and this link gets generated and emailed. So let me show you how this looks. So let me just show you how this looks on the. Let me just close this here. There we go. Let me show you how this looks on the email side, and then you can see on the recipient. So now we're going to flip hats here, and now we're going to become the recipient of these files. So here's that message that came in, and you can see here's the email. So this email, once again, what you can control here as the administrator is the logo, really. So this logo here, you can upload your own company logo. This logo will also appear on the web interface when the user clicks on the link to download the files. So if I click over here, I get, so the same logo here will appear as in the email, and now I'm the recipient. So as the recipient, what can I do here? Well, as the recipient, I can select which file I want to download. I can add them to my download queue, and I can click on download selected files. Or I can click on download all, and then it downloads everything. So this is downloading all the files, and now my transmission is complete. So the application gives you here a little open download location, which will make your Windows Explorer, or on Mac your Windows Finder, and you can see they just end up in downloads, the files that were sent. If the end user chooses to change the target directory where the files are to be saved, they can do this in the transfer agent, and they can go to open the transfer agent configuration, and they can change here the download path. So the download path automatically will go to downloads like all the applications, but you can overwrite that and change it to point it to another place if you want to save the files in some other location. So this is really the link side of things. Next thing I wanted to show you here, it's a little bit of the system features for the link. So what you get here is, you can set expiration options for the packages. You can delete links automatically after successful download. You can keep the number of days you want to keep the storing of the links, and some other features, including the logo here. So it's very simple. It's an upload files. The recipient can download files, and that's about it. There's one more option here in the link, is that the recipient by default will be prompted to install transfer agent. But however, if the transfer agent is not present, if transfer agent is not present, they can download the files via HTTP. So let me show you how this would work. I would have to go into. I have to go into. I have to delete the cookie because I already was running it, so our application already knows that that transfer agent works. I just have to delete all the cookies from this web browsers. So now I'll be prompted to install. Okay, now I will be prompted to install the transfer agent. And instead of installing it, I'm just going to skip it. So this is what I get to if I don't have a transfer agent. So of course the recipient can now download the transfer agent, can launch if they know they already have it running, or they can just opt out and click on HTTP download. And this will give them this type of interface where there's no queue or anything, but they can click and download files individually and download them without any plugin required. Of course, there's no acceleration with this route, but those users, those corporate or enterprise users that necessarily can install plugins, they can at least get to the files, and you will still get the same amount of tracking as you would get if they used a transfer agent to download the files. For uploading files, you'd need a transfer agent on the link side. So that's the link. That's really the summary of link. So let's go to the next step, which will be to go, and here I can download the file. So I log in as John TK. I log in as a user, and I am in my directory here, and I log in as a regular user. So what I can see right away is all my previous transmissions and what I have downloaded and what I've downloaded and what I have sent. And now I'm just going to click here on, just 1 minute, I was just checking here. Okay, so now I'm just going to click on new job here. And what we're working here in workflow is that we have two types of the jobs in workflow. We have distribution and ingest jobs. Ingest jobs end up just sending files to a central location on the storage, and then you can do some kind of actions afterwards. Distribution jobs do very similar thing, but they will also send out links to download the files for recipients. So I'm going to click a distribution job here. And now I can start typing in the my recipient. As you can see here, I have an autocomplete with my address book. This address book can be synced with LDAP or Active Directory. And now I'll go through these options in a minute. Right now I'm just going to do standard delivery via email. I will talk about these other advanced options in a minute. But all I have to put is specify the information, and I can click on upload files. And once again, this launches my transfer agent. And now I can browse through my directory structure here. And I can select a couple of files to upload, and I hit start upload. And now files are being uploaded to the server, and this will also send an email to the recipient. So just bear with me here a few seconds until this uploads. So now my job is complete. I finished uploading the files, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to log out here, and now I'm going to go into my my inbox, and now you can see here's the email that came in for this job. So all I have to do is, as a recipient, I just have to click on this link and I get to the files. So few differences here you can see is that the screen, the look and feel is a little different. The reason it's different is that everything here on this screen is customizable. With Link, you cannot customize much of the application except for the logo. Here, everything can be moved, changed around. You also get something called an image preview. So if, for example, I click on a video file, I can see a little preview, and I can even play a little 30-second clip. So what Workflow will do is that we'll clip out about 10-15 seconds, or you can set the settings how long you want, and then the user has a little preview before deciding to download what they want. They can download each file individually, as well as they can click on download all, and this grabs the entire package for them. Once again, the files here end up going to the downloads directory. It shows you here where they go, and then of course it guides the user here through how to change that by going to open configuration and changing the download path like I showed you in direct link. It's a similar process here where you can change the target path where you want to go. And files are downloaded. I can click here to get to my files. So if you notice here, the workflow will actually group in the downloads directory. Workflow will group the download as all together, so the files don't get mishmashed with the other files in the downloads. So it's a lot easier for the recipients to locate the files and figure out what to do with them instead of being spread out in downloads. So this is a little change in workflow versus direct. So so you saw the video preview. I wanted to show you also ability. So here what you can do is that you can also set up the system that you don't need transfer agent installed. for both uploads and downloads. And you can also upload folders here, which you cannot do with the other system. So what I'm going to show you here a quick example of how uploads work without the transfer agent plugin. So I logged in here as a user form upload. I made it specifically so it would always use the form to upload. This step is the same. You know, it doesn't matter what I put here really. Oh, I can maybe at the same time I can show you a different delivery option. Let's call it a pin here. And I'm going to go to upload files. Oops. There we go. And I'll hit upload files. So this is the web interface of uploading if you don't have transfer agent installed. Or like in this case here, I'm just forcing that user to always go into this. They have always the option to go back to transfer agent, but if they are just in form upload, this is the option. So now if I want to upload files, I have to go to, let's say, my documents here. And select the file and hit upload. And this uploads a file via HTTP to Tomcat, and then the link gets sent like it did before. On the download side, let me show you the download side, how that would look. So I have to go into F12 here. Once again, I have to always go through this local storage to delete the cookies, because otherwise transfer agent just wants to launch and work by default. But because here I'm doing a specific demo of a user that doesn't have transfer agent, I have to clear these cookies out. So let's go back here. Here is the file. So if you notice this one, I picked a little bit different download method. I picked up pin. So what happens is the system generates a link. In this case, the user needs the recipient needs the link and needs this pin password, which is emailed with the system. So let me show you this option. So here I'll go into please complete your download. You require the pin number. So I'm just going to paste the pin, and now I'm in. See, once again suggesting to install transfer agent, but I can just click on X here, and I can now download files just via HTTP, and I don't need the plugin installed at all for the recipient. So if recipients decide not to install it, they'll get prompted. They can say no. I think there's an option there to never remind me to install transfer agent, and they'll be able to do HTTP download links. And again, you know, you have still that little video preview of the file. So that's one of the benefits of using workflow. So you can do both uploads and downloads without transfer agent. You have the video preview. I'll outline the features, the full feature list a little bit later during the webinar. So the next one is sharing files that already are on the server. So one more thing. So very often our customers will have some kind of a system that will generate a large file that is sitting on a server somewhere, and they need to share this file via link with somebody else. So here I'm going to show you how to do this via both direct and link. So we'll go back to our direct link here. Again, I'll click on this link, transfer files, email link, and now it's going to prompt me to install. So I'm just going to do launch here because I removed that cookie, if you remember. And I'm going to show you how browsing files on the remote system works. Oh, I deleted all the cookies here. There we go. So now I connected as user TA on my system. This user TA is defined here. This is the TA user. And the process, I already showed you this, where I can put the email address, files, demo, I can specify the expiry dates. But now instead of browsing on the local file system, I'm going to go on the remote file system. So now I'm browsing files that are sitting in my home directory on my FileCatalyst server. So now I don't need to, there's no real upload per se happening because the files are already there. The only thing that will happen in the background is that FileCatalyst server will create a link to those files in FC Outbox. So the links can be shared. So, I'm going to add here a couple of files, and I can even do a mishmash where I can do like 2 files from the server, and I could do another file here with the upload. So you can see these 2 are already there because they were on the system, and this one is uploading. And hit on send. I'm not going to show you the pickup process because it's identical. The only difference is that there's 2 tabs there. There's one for files on server, and one is for local files. And the sender can decide what file sets they want to send. On workflow, things are a little different. Workflow has a concept of file areas. So if you go to workflow, there is a concept of file areas. So file areas are like group folders. So for example, I'll go to group file area for group example. This launches like a web-based folder that anybody that is part of this group has access to, and they can upload files, download files, share files amongst themselves. But at the same time, I can also pick up any file or folder in here and share it via email with another person without needing them to be as part of my group. They will never be able to modify the files. They'll be able to download the files I selected for them to see. So I'm just going to select here a couple of files, click send selected files. And now, once again, I have 2 order forms. So here it's asking me if I want to do distribution or ingest. I'm going to do distribution. And now you can see here, look, the files are already sitting on my list, and all I have to do is just put my recipient and server files. I don't know, just something to put in here. And now I'm going to show you another. So I showed you the PIN. Now I'm going to show you the password option here. So I'm actually going to set a password for this download, and only just so I'm showing you different delivery options as I'm sending, so we're not spending too much time. At the same time here, I can upload more files, or I can just finish. So if I wanted to select, again, mishmash of files that are from group storage and from and local files, I can do it, but here I'm just going to hit finish. And this sends the job. So once again, there's no file upload required. Files were selected. Existing files on the server were selected for uploading. So let's get into the emails here. And here's the email for server files. So remember before I used the PIN and the PIN was written here. Now there's no PIN because the download method was password. So when I click on this link, I'm going to get to enter the password. So that password is not in the email generated by workflow. This password has to be sent to recipients some other ways. It could be a different email, could be called, and you could phone in and say this is the password. But once again, this is something built into workflow. And now I get my files here, and the download proceeds as normal, like we did in the first example. Again, you have your previews. You can watch your little preview of the low-res previews. You have your HTTP links, you have your UDP links, and your download all. But you can see that everything proceeds as normal. But these files were never really uploaded. They were already sitting on the server. So the difference really here is that the workflow, you can have multiple file areas. You can select files from multiple file areas for one package, and you can also select folders. So you can send an entire folder if this is what you want to share via email. So as you can see, sending a link to a file sounds like a very simple process, as I mentioned in my first slide here about using like an HTTP server. But you can see the complexity grows as you're looking for files that are sitting on a server, as your links expire. There's a lot of nuances in sharing files via email. It sounds, concept sounds really crazy simple, but if you start thinking of all the options you could have in there, you can start building a different use cases for your deployment based on all these features that we're adding. So so there was a lot of similarities between these two systems up till now, and I just want to talk about some of the advanced features of distribution jobs and workflow that you don't get in Link. So as you already saw, the password protected PIN and password and PIN options on the download side, which you don't get in Link. You also get a two-factor email authentication with workflow. So let me show you how that would work. And I'm going to log in here as a sender. I'm going to click on distribution. I'm going to pick my recipient, secure auth. I'll just call it secure auth. So you can see that there's actually an authentication process happening with the recipient. Without the recipient requiring a recipient to open an account, the recipient has to be verified and secure. So let me pick here email authentication prior to download. So this is the most secure download method we have in workflow and in Link, as a matter of fact. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to upload files, and let me just select the file here so I can illustrate this. So this process follows the same thing. The only difference is going to see on the recipient side how things will change. Okay, so now I finished my job submission. I'm going to go here to get my download, and here's my download email. Just like you had it before, there's no difference to this email from the recipient side. But now if I click on the link, you get an extra authentication that you have to do. So what's going to happen here is that as soon as the recipient clicks on the link, the workflow system sends an authentication code to the recipient. The recipient has 15 minutes to retrieve that code and enter it here to access the files. After 15 minutes, the code expires, and the only way to get going again, the recipient has to go back and click on the original link to regenerate another authentication code. So if I go into my email here, here's the authentication code for transfer agent, so I can copy and paste it. We also provide a shortcut link here that you can just click on this link to automatically authenticate and get this download. Or if 15 minutes have expired, you can click on the original download link and regenerate another authentication token. So let me just grab this authentication token here. And now I get to the files, and the rest of the process is the same as I showed you in my first few slides, where I can download the files and so forth. So what's the benefit of this way? Well, first of all, no one can forward that email. The first email that comes in here, if I forward this email to 50 recipients, well, I would have to give them the authentication token, and they would have only 15 minutes to go and grab those files before everything expires. Otherwise, I would those recipients that token is going to expire and it's not going to work anymore, and they'll have to come back to me to get the next authentication token. So distribution via forwarding becomes much more limited. Also, it authenticates that the user, that the recipient must have access to the email inbox in order to get to the files. So this authenticates the user through email, and keeps everything much more secure. Prevents forwarding to 50 others. It prevents recipients from guessing, tracking numbers, because there's the authentication token that arrives. So in terms of security, it's a good mix between requiring the recipients to register for the system and create another account, which yet they will forget and not remember what it is, and not having anything at all, just sending a link. So this gives you that option of extra security. Um, so another feature that Workflow has that Link doesn't have is that you can send packages to multiple recipients, and the package will stop working as soon as all the recipients download all the files. In Link, you can only do it with a single recipient. Uh, you can in Workflow, you have the ability for senders to invite other users to the system. So if I log in here as a sender, I can go to invite others, and I can, in essence, I'm making a temporary account on the system for that specific guest user, and then they can send files. The big thing is that's delegation of tasks. Administrators don't have to make accounts anymore because users can invite themselves, and you as the administrator, you can base this new user based on make a template for it. So you can restrict the invited users to do very certain things which maybe full users cannot do. You get much better tracking with job history and better reports. So if I go back to view jobs here and I look at, let's say, some of those jobs I downloaded, let's say this one here, I get a full information on when I sent it, what was my method, file list, as well as when the job was submitted, and I even get information where the recipient saved the files to. So that's something that you don't get in Link. You get a full history here of what's going on. With Link, you don't necessarily get this information presented in such way. Custom metadata fields. So when I click on new job here in distribution, if I want to capture any other specific fields, I have here subject message, some security options. I can add any other fields. I can add a drop down, a text area, and I can have these fields exposed in the email. So if there's, let's say, specific project ID or something like this that you need to have the sender specify before they can send files, you can do it with this system. The concept of custom fields doesn't exist in Link. It's only email, subject, and message. So it gives you more flexibility with how you build your features. Custom templates and uploading, downloading packages and custom. So this one, let me just give you a quick look here how this looks like. So I'm going to log in here as administrator, and so right now you've seen the system always, when recipients clicks on the link, it gets a certain look and feel of the application. Well, I can control this. So let me go here and see there's a field here I called select template. So this is going to be the template used for the downloads, but what I'll do, instead of hiding it, I'll expose it, and then you can see what happens next. So I'm going to log in here, go to my distributions tab, put my recipient like I did before, but now I'm going to do, instead of before I was doing dark top demo. So this was the dark template with the demo. Now I'm going to pick default top nav. So it's going to be when the user comes in to pick up files, you'll see a completely different look and feel. So what this is good for? It's good for people that, let's say, you're dealing with many different affiliates, and you want affiliates to have their own custom look and feel. You can create templates. So all the users from affiliate A will see their logo, their colors, their corporate standards, and then every user with affiliate B will have a completely different look and feel. While this is still the same application, but it's segmented now by affiliates or partners and so on. So if I now go back here and I click on Get Messages, you will see that the look and feel has changed. Now see, it's all white, and before it was dark. But you can play with the colors, you can play with the logos, you can change You can change pretty much anything on the system you want. Let me just give you a quick look here on the templates. Oops. So if I go to modify templates and manage templates, so you can see here you have a lot of settings you can set, and you can make as many templates as you want, assign them to groups, assign them to order forms, and you can, upload logos, background images. You can play with the template source if you want to change the layout of the look. You can change just the colors of whatever you need to, whatever you want to change here, background colors and so forth. So you can see there the system is quite flexible to support like a multi-tenant approach where you let's say have a lot of affiliates and you want to change the look and feel depending on who is logging in and how. So that's another option that you have here. You can customize emails and workflows, so all your recipient emails, you can write whatever you want. You can have the senders or uploaders select which FileCatalyst server to upload to. So let's say you have an operation where you have two servers, let's say one in New York and one in London, and the user comes in and they can decide which server they want to send the package through. So of course, if they're sending a package to someone in the UK and they're in the US, they'll probably upload to the UK server. So it's so the recipient can download faster. And don't forget the downloaded files are grouped in folders, so you get in this directory created in workflow under downloads for downloading files. So this is all on the user experience. I don't really want to talk too much about there's the whole aspect of APIs as well. So a lot of people want to be able to generate a file, a large file, and want to send a link to it to a recipient. So this is what we have, what we allow. So in direct link, we give you a RESTful API for sending files that already exist on the server. Remember when we did that selecting files from the server and sending, that you have a REST API for that on the link. On direct link, if you use the transfer agent has also a RESTful API built in. Then you can also upload files to a direct server and submit a link. So it's going to be essentially what I showed you from local file selection. You can do this with a RESTful API. Direct client Java API. So on the link side, on direct, you also have a full Java API. So you can do all of that I mentioned to you through Java. Workflow, on the other hand, has everything done in a Java API. So upload files, download files, folders, selection of what authentication method you want on a download. All of this is done through a Java API. The workflow doesn't have a RESTful API at this moment, but it is on our roadmap. We're hoping to deliver in Q1 2019 that RESTful API on workflow, but it's something coming up. So that's really what the API is. So this is some of the feature sets. Made you a quick matrix here just so it's easy to do. So sending links to files via email, both products have it. API, as I mentioned, Direct has REST and Java. Workflow has only Java. There's something called external file system integration. So if you want to send files, let's say that are sitting on S3 or Azure or any other object storage server, you can do it as well. You can send links from an object store with both systems. So file upload and download not requiring a client application install. Well, Direct has the download only. Workflow has both, upload and download. Package expiry, both systems have it. PIN, password, two-factor email authentication, that's not in Direct, that's only in Workflow. Full job tracking of confirmation that all recipients downloaded all the files, that's only in Workflow. You only get a confirmation like this if you send files to a single recipient with Direct. And then you get the custom look and feel per group user with templates, custom emails, custom language files. That's all in Workflow. You don't get that with Direct. And ability to upload new or share existing folders. All the folder operations are only in workflow. You don't get them in direct. So it's just a quick guide, to cheat sheet to figure out what you need and where you are. So that's about it here. Before I go to questions, we have some events coming up. We're going to be in Amsterdam in September, in Argentina in October. We're going to be in India in October as well. Then we're going to Dallas for Supercomputing Show in November, and finishing off the year with Japan at Interby. So that's sort of our lineup of where we're going to be. We're more than happy to show you a live demo if this is something you're interested in at these shows, and come and see us.